Okay. So last time, we had talked about leads and how to generate leads. And I asked you to do two things, right? One, get your name, phone number out there somehow, right? Flyers, door knocking, social media posts, whatever. And then the next one, I asked you to have a conversation, right, with somebody who's interacted with your stuff or some kind of client conversation. Whether or not they signed a contract with you at that time is irrelevant. Sienna, how did that go for you? Did you get it done? Did you get too nervous? Did you get too busy?
Um,
Um,
so I posted a few times on my Instagram stories. I
mhm.
couldn't think of anything quite yet to post. I have like an Instagram post planned. I just have to go out and get the pictures for it.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna do like a kind of like a dog park tour and
That's a
do
great idea.
because we just got a new puppy. My boyfriend surprised me and brought her home. So it's been a little hectic, but I think it like honestly, I think it will help me because I was thinking about doing like the dog parks and pick a few of my favorite in the area, and then I could also highlight some of like the types of homes that are in those communities as well.
Great idea. Yep.
Um,
Perfect.
and then I get to like go out and talk to people at the dog parks too. So I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah. Yep. And even if you could talk to people before you start the video and ask them if you can essentially interview them, right? Like,
Oh,
what do
that
you
would be
like about
awesome.
this
Yeah.
neighborhood? Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. Okay. So everything is just a dream until it has a deadline.
Oh
When are you going
Lord.
to get that done by?
Well, so actually she's taking a nap in her kennel right now. So I can hop on
Oh,
here. And how do I
I
flip my
love
on this thing?
I love the puppies. Yes, please.
So she's snoozing.
Oh, oh, what breed is she?
She is a um blue heeler, so that's like Australian cattle dog and also German short-haired pointer.
Okay,
So she's
perfect.
crazy.
He's gonna be active. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But so this is our other one is also walking around with me. She's awake, but she's a German Shepherd Collie Husky, also crazy.
Oh yeah.
So they have been wearing each other out and it's been so nice. They play like tug of war with each other for like 2 hours. I'm not even kidding.
Nice. Good.
So
Oh,
it's been
that's yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Good. So do you have a dog park near where you live right now?
There are a couple, and I don't remember what it's called, but there's a few over like close to my apartment, I think, within walking distance. So I want to get Kyle to come with me, so we can take both of the dogs
Hmm.
and let them run around in the dog park. And then I'll bring some cards with me, and I'll probably wear like not walk suitable clothes so that I look professional. But
Just a little bit professional, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yep, not overly so because you are taking your dog to the dog park, right?
that's
You
true.
don't want to
Yes,
overdress for such a thing, but yeah.
exactly. But I think that would be good. And then I can get out and then people know I'm like doing stuff like in the community and people know that I'm like a friendly face and open to talking and stuff like that. So I figured that was a good
Absolutely.
one.
Yep, that's fantastic. So
So
then deadline.
hopefully,
Hopefully.
hopefully by the 4th of July.
Okay.
Hopefully. And if not sooner.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
No,
and then
I
we're gonna bring the puppy out to the lake for the 4th. So then I'll probably do like a one of those email 4th of July, happy 4th of July things with my real estate stuff on that as well. So I'm kind of
good.
developing a plan. Um, and Canva is going to be my best friend, I think. But
Oh, yes. Yep.
Canva's
Canva
great.
is always helpful. Also, Faith Mullenbach is our marketing director. And
Hmm.
so she has that job form available. If you have any ideas and you don't have time to build it, she can
Yeah,
build it for you, right? So you just throw it into that job form quick and send it to her. And yeah, she'd be more than happy to do that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Good.
like to
All
play
right.
around with the design stuff too. So I don't know if she's probably does a better job than I would, but
That's okay. If you enjoy it, that's great. I mean, there are people who don't enjoy it at all.
They're
They
like,
hate
take
it.
it from me,
So,
please.
right. Yeah. So I think that's great. Okay. So then the next one was, what kind of conversations did you have? Or did you? Were you able to get any conversations?
Not really.
Okay. Did you
I've
do
talked like randomly with like my coworkers recently. One of
good?
my managers actually was talking to me about how to get into real estate because she was thinking about maybe doing that as well.
Okay.
So then I was like, we had like probably like a 15-minute conversation about that, but I don't know if that counts.
Oh, right. I mean, kind of. It shows you as an expert in the field, right? She's coming
Yeah.
to you, your manager who is above you in your
Yeah,
job right now was coming to you and looking for your advice. And so that's kinda, I mean, we prefer buyers and sellers because that's how we get paid.
I know.
But
But
here's
I
the
suppose I did talk to my grandpa about the storage building as well. So
that
that's
counts. I know
yes.
it's grandpa, but it still
Yeah.
counts. Yeah.
He was like, who do I have to call? And I was like, Grandpa, you just have to call me.
Perfect. That's a great line. What did he
Nice.
say to that?
Yeah, he was like, well, can I just call your boss and tell him that I want you to do it? Oh, jeez. Why are you breaking stuff? Um, and I was like, nope, you don't have to talk to anybody. I can talk to my boss. Gypsy move. Oh my goodness. And we'll get it figured out because I'm not licensed in Minnesota yet. So then we were talking about that and we were talking about how I would then reach out to to the seller of this um storage building, and we'd have to look at the listing and then I could set up a like a go do a walkthrough with them.
Hmm.
And he said, I don't know if he just has not bought property in so long that I think he was like, well, who do I have to talk to that's above you? And I was like, you don't have to talk to anybody above me. You just gotta talk to me. So
Yeah, just say I am the
Yes.
boss.
Yeah, that's exactly. You are the boss. Um, and you can definitely do that. I mean, you can't show property in Minnesota until you're licensed there. So I
exactly.
agree that should be your first goal
Mhm.
there. But that was definitely a conversation. So did you have a conversation with him about his price range? Why that storage unit?
He really likes the location of this one, because they live in Detroit Lakes. So he really
Okay.
likes the location of this one, and he wants it to store this new car that he's going to have delivered to him from Florida. I think it's like a GTA 79 or something crazy like that. Like an old sports
Okay.
car that he loves. And so he was
Yes.
like, I really want these ones. He like did all the looking before me and he was like dead set on this one. I was like, okay. And he said there's only three in this strip left that he wants. So he doesn't know
Okay.
which of the three, but
Right.
yeah, I don't
Well,
know. I don't actually know. I have to look up I have to call him and have him send me the link to it again because he didn't give me the address or anything. Can you move, please? Go lay down. My
okay.
goodness. They're crazy.
Yep. So what's your follow-up plan? I mean, I know it's your grandpa, but do you have deadlines with your follow-up plan?
So my first step was I need to get um my Minnesota license. So I'm doing that as fast as I possibly can. And then as soon as
Perfect.
that is done, I'm gonna call him and oh, hold on. Luna, stop. You're fine. Um, as soon as that's done, I'm gonna call him and then say we're good to go. Let's go. Give me this information for the I think it's a lady that's selling them in Detroit Lakes. And then I'll call her. I think he wants to do it as fast as he can. So I'm trying to be as fast as I can because that would be great for me too.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's the other option. If he wants to move faster than you can get licensed, you can refer him to an agent in that area. I mean, our
that's
Park
true.
Rapids
Yeah.
office is fairly close. But the Detroit Lakes agents, most of them are good anyway. I know Brandon knows a handful of people there. He might be able to give you a good recommendation.
Yeah.
Um, and so if he wants to move faster than you can get licensed, then you can still get paid from it if you refer
Yeah.
him to an agent there,
That
right?
is true. That is true. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I guess I would have to talk to him again about it. Ow, Luna, that hurts. Don't jump on. It's very much chaos in my life at this moment.
See,
So you hear that?
see, Anna, you're talking about Detroit Lakes area, and
Yeah.
we have an agent, Aaron Olson,
Okay.
who she's here in Alexandria right now, but she is very familiar with Otterdale, Detroit Lakes, that whole area.
Okay.
She's worked there. I don't know. She's experienced, and that's where most of her experience is.
Okay.
So I would reach out to her maybe even. So
Hmm.
she's here in our Alexandria office. But you could just go on our website and look for Erin Olson
Erin
and
Olson. Okay.
contact her there.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
we're in a group and a team for a reason, so lean on your people.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's true.
Yeah.
you can certainly reach out to Brandon as well, but
I
I
suppose
know
so.
that she's in that area or from that
Okay.
area, kind of.
Yep. And it could be something, Fiona, where you could go with, right? So you wouldn't be representing anybody in that capacity, but you know, you could go with and see how Erin shows things and the
Yeah,
conversation she has with your grandpa. It might be a really good learning experience for you.
that's true too. Yeah, I didn't actually
Hmm.
think about that. Completely forgot about that actually.
That's okay. That's exactly why we're doing, right, these classes is to talk about
Mhm.
all of those things, all of that stuff. Um, okay, cool. I wanted to show, so because we were talking about getting clients, having those conversations, right? And what you do with those conversations and with those leads. So I wanted to share with you this buyer intake sheet. Now, you don't have to use this with all of your people, all of your buyers that you talk to. But it gives you a really good guideline, especially for new agents, to get the information from the client that you need, either before the consultation with the buyer or after, right? And so when I say buyer consultation, I mean like you're coming down, you're sitting down with them, you're talking to them about the process in general on how to do that. And so this buyer intake sheet can be super helpful. So prospect is obviously the name, right? Now it's always good to ask for, is there a second decision maker, right? Because usually it's the husband or the wife that's calling. And so is there a second decision maker that you need to know about to contact? What their current address is, what their current city is. This is fantastic for your database, especially if you start sending out letters, postcards, all of those things to have those things up front. Oh, I don't know what I did. Okay. Um, is super important. Then how do they prefer to be contacted? Everybody's a little different. There are some people who don't do text or email at all. And so if you don't ask that question with your client up front, right? Meet somebody at the coffee shop and they start talking about real estate, and you're like, well, I'll text you that. And they don't tell you that, oh yeah, I don't look at my texts, or I have an old flip phone, I don't get text anymore, right? Um, how they prefer to be contacted. I don't know, honestly, if home phone matters anymore because everybody does have a cell phone. Um, However, there was just recently a situation that happened in my office where an agent was trying to get a hold of a client that they had set up a meeting with and couldn't get a hold of. Couldn't because their voicemail was full on their cell phone. Because when they're at home, they turn off their cell phone and they're at home for days on end, and all they answer is their home phone, their landline. Super old school, but this will help you make those decisions and figure out what those contact things are, right? Because if you can't, you can have wonderful conversations with leads. If you can't contact them afterwards, they're nothing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that
Um,
would suck.
yeah, yes, it does. You learn very quickly to get contact information. So, do they own or do they rent? And when is their lease up? Right? So if they rent, they might not be able to buy a home until their lease is up. And so you need to know this information so you can determine how far into your pipeline that these buyers are going, right? Is this a buyer who's just starting talking about buying a home, but they're in a lease, their lease isn't up until the end of the year? And so they're really not going to be buying until closer to the fall. And so what does that timeline look like? And what does those conversations look like? If they own a home currently, do they have to sell that home to be able to buy the next one? Is their house already listed on the market with another agent, right? Are they coming to the area, and their house is listed in Minneapolis and they're moving to Fargo? You need to
No.
know those things, um, to be able to accurately help them and coach them through this process, right? Not
Yeah.
only that, if they have to sell a home before they buy, well, we should probably get that home on the market. And if it's in your area, why don't you list with me? Let's talk about listing. Now you've turned your buyer consultation into also a listing consultation,
Would be
right?
fantastic.
Right. Yeah. But if you don't ask the questions, then you're never going to know.
Hmm.
You got to ask the questions. Um, the other thing is that if they do have a house to sell, but it's not in your area, send a referral. Offer your services. We have a network with Coldwell Banker of thousands of agents. I would be more than happy to pass your name on to a good agent in your area to contact you. Is that okay? You wait for their answer. Some people say no, right? Some people say, no, I've got a brother who does this, or my uncle's cousin's girlfriend is a real estate agent down there. And so that's fine, right? And but if you can get a referral out of it, if not a listing, even better.
Yeah.
Here's a really big one that people don't ask, that agents in general don't ask. Are you working with an agent right now? Especially if you're doing an open house. People come in the door all the time and start asking questions and doing all this stuff. You think you have a great rapport. You go and show them property because the general public doesn't always know that we don't get paid unless we have commissions. And if you've already contacted an agent and signed a contract with them, they should be showing you the home, right? Now, a little different with the settlement, we have to have a buyer's representation agreement signed before we show homes anymore, right? Have to. Before you walk through that door, you have to have that signed. So asking the question, are you currently working with an agent, is paramount. I would even say move this one to the very top. What's your name? Are you currently working with an agent? And if they say yes, then talk to them about that. Do you have a contract with them right now? Right? Because in their mind, working with them means they've called a listing agent and they've talked to them, but they don't actually have a contract. And so that's when you get to explain the benefits of agent services, of buyer agent services, and why they should pick their own person that is in their court to be able to negotiate on their behalf as their buyer's agent, right? Another great question to ask is how long have you been looking? How long have you been looking for this property? You know, if it's only a month and they're looking at lake homes that they don't really have to buy, well, that could be a longer client, a long-term conversation. I had a client who looked for 5 years before they bought anything.
Oh.
5 years, right? It's a long time, but you have to have your processes set up and these questions
Mhm.
asked so that you can stay top of mind with these people. They bought through me 5 years later, and then
Yeah.
their parents sold with me, and then their parents bought with me. Like it turned into uh good clients for me, but I had to put in the time up front. So how long have you been looking? When do you have to move? This is that motivation level, right? How motivated are you to move right now? Do you have a new job that you're starting in 2 months and you have to move as soon as possible? Do you have kids that you want to get in the school system before the school year starts? That's your motivation's higher, right?
Okay.
Are you just looking at Lake Country and you just, you kind of are thinking about maybe because you've been at a resort for 30 years and maybe you want to own your own place? Well, your motivation might not be that high, right? And you don't have to share this intake form with your client. Uh, if you feel bad about marking them as like a one on the motivation level, right? Like, I don't think these people are motivated at all. But this helps you rank priority for your clients, right?
Okay.
The top 10 clients who are who are going to do something within the next 6 months. That's what you're looking for when you're having these buyer conversations, in particular, these buyer conversations. who's going to do something in the next 6 months. And those are the people where you give your most amount of time to. The other people you don't push away, right? You put them in your CRM, you contact them on a regular basis. I like to say, 3 days, 3 weeks, and 3 months for those longer term people. After you have the first conversation, you contact them 3 days afterwards and just thank them for their time and ask if they have any other questions that they've thought of. Then you contact them again in 3 weeks. Hey, how's it going? I've set you up with an automatic email. Have you seen anything that you like? I haven't heard from you, that kind of thing. And then you follow up again with them in 3 months. If they're still not in that motivation, if they haven't moved their motivation level, then you follow up again with them in another 3 months. And maybe that's an automatic email, a drip campaign that you've set up. Just a quick text message. Yep. Hey, I saw this property. I thought of you, right? But this motivation level will help you determine which leads you should be paying attention to the most.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Another good question to ask, what's the best time for you to look? Is it the weekend? Is it the afternoon? Does everybody work 9 to 5? Is Mrs. Seller working from home and therefore able to go when she wants? Or Mrs. Buyer, sorry, Mrs. Buyer working from home, able to go when she wants, and then she's going to whittle down the houses that you're looking at, and then the husband's going to come on Sunday, and we're going to look at the three houses that the wife has chosen are the three options, right? Having that conversation up front sets expectations, not only for your schedule, but also for theirs, right? We as real estate agents can be pretty flexible. Um, but we need to know how flexible we need to be. Okay. Price range, always, always looking at price range. This when to move comes back to that motivation level, right? Their desired areas, particularly in our larger markets like Fargo Moorhead. Are they looking in Fargo? Are they looking in Moorhead? Are they looking at North Fargo, South Fargo, West Fargo? Like there's a lot of pieces to that. Do they want to be a half an hour out of town? On the flip side of that, with our lake country, what lake do you want to be on? Right? Do you want to be close to all the good lakes or do you want to be more in the farm country? Because we all have that in our lakes area, right? So what their desired areas are, how many bedrooms they need. And there's a difference. There's a difference between wanting and needing. If you talk to a client and they say, I would like 5 bedrooms because then I can use one for the kids and one for us and one for a workout room and one for an office. Then your next question should be, okay, do you need a workout room? And let them answer the question. Do you need an office? Do you work from home so you need an office? That's a legitimate need, right? But maybe they don't really need 5 bedrooms. Maybe they only need three. And that's going to change how you have that conversation with the buyer on what properties they're looking at. Garage is a great question. A garage is a wonderful question because there are some people who have lived in Minnesota their whole life. They've never had a garage. They don't care, right? They don't need to park their car in the garage. It doesn't matter. There are other people who they will not live here unless they have a garage. It is a requirement, period. But if you don't
I'm
ask the
like,
question, you don't know.
how do you
Uh-huh.
not have a garage?
Okay, I agree with you. Yep. I fall in the category of I need a garage. Yeah. I have
I
lived
didn't
without one.
even, I won't live in an apartment that doesn't have a garage.
Okay. See? So, and everybody's different. My husband couldn't care less. He doesn't care at all. That's fine. I care. Um, any special requests? Maybe they really want a pool. They've got 3 kids. They're working in Fargo and they really just want a pool in the backyard. Maybe they want that sugar sand lakeshore, right? Maybe they don't really care about the lakeshore itself, but they want a view of the lake. Like that's what they're looking for. Maybe they want trees. Now this one's hard, and you'll get buyers like this. They want pine trees and white pine only. No leafy trees, no aspens, no bushes. Just want white pine property. Okay. Now it's a special request. So then you have to have the conversation of, well, how motivated are you to actually find property and move? Because that's a very specific property, right? Um, then you have to talk about how they're buying. How are they able to buy the property? Do they have cash in the bank? And keep in mind, going to your banker and saying, and your banker telling you, yeah, we'll get the loan together. You're good for it. I'm not worried about you putting in an application. That's not cash in the bank. That's getting a loan. Okay. And that's fantastic for them that they have enough of a reputation with the bank and the lender that they have that okay to just go do it and they'll make it right. That's great. I love it. However, that is not cash. And the general public doesn't always understand that that does not count as cash. Okay. So make sure you're having those conversations with your buyers as you're talking about how are you buying this property? Do they have money that they have to take out of the stock market, out of CDs, right? Out of their retirement? And have they talked to those people, the bank or their stockbroker, to understand how that process works, what their penalties might be, how soon, how soon they're going to get it? You're getting eaten by your dog in there. I see that.
Oh, they're being so noisy too, which is why I'm trying to stay on mute. But you
That's
guys,
fine.
oh, she's eating my toes.
Uh-huh. Yep. She wants your attention, man. Do you need to know how they're doing that? Because that can change which properties you look at. If they're getting an FHA or rural development loan, properties have to qualify, just like the buyer has to qualify for their loan through their income. Properties have to be of a certain condition to qualify for that type of loan, right? So this is why you're asking. And the other fun thing is if they haven't talked to a lender at all, you get to say, that's fine. Here's my preferred lenders. I would love to put you in contact with some of them. Do you have anyone that you care about the most? Have you talked to your lender yet? Do they have a family lender? Because, everybody does. I've always banked at this hometown bank. Great. That's fantastic. Let's get them on the phone. What's our first step? One of the biggest things with buyers, particularly first-time home buyers, is you're almost holding their hand through the process, right? Well, here, you're already in my office, right? Why don't you get on the phone with your lender quick, with your bank, and I'll step out and you can have a conversation so you know what your next steps are so that we can go buy property, right? Facilitate those conversations so that they can move a little quicker through the process, right? Um, Obviously, I'm not interested in you pushing them, right? And saying, as they're saying no to you across the table, you're dialing your lender and saying, well, here, they're already on the phone. Like, don't do that. That's not cool. Okay. But any way that you can facilitate this process to go a little faster. And then if they've already talked to a lender, you need that contact information with the lender so that they knew the lender knows you, you know them. You're going to have to send purchase agreement, the disclosures, all of those things. You're going to have to understand what loan product your buyers are getting so you can help qualify the houses. If it's a conventional loan, doesn't really matter, right? As long as they have the down payment. You might want to ask the lender, how do these buyers need to ask the seller for concessions to help pay for their closing costs, right? If it's a VA buyer, well, we can't charge an admin fee to a VA buyer. So you might have to update your buyer representation contract, right? So having that open dialogue with their lender that they've that they've chosen is incredibly important. Now, Sienna, do you think, I know your puppies are being loud, but do you think this is something that you would use? Is this
Actually,
helpful
yeah,
to you? Okay.
yeah, I would love that.
Yep. So obviously I'll send it out. Like that's
Okay,
why I have it up. I'm not just
yeah,
gonna show it to you and be like, figure it out. Okay.
you make your own.
Right. I'll send it out and you can use it. Yeah. Did you have any questions about these different the different things that you're asking or how to ask or
I guess is there like when you're like looking over this stuff, like I know you said I don't have to show the clients, but if I'm like filling this out with a client,
Mhm.
and they like ask me, well, what's the difference like between the loans? Like why is that another thing that I refer back to the lender? Because I don't really remember the differences between all of the loans and like so I'll have to brush back up on that. But
Mhm. Yeah, so it's definitely something that you should brush back up on. And it
okay.
can be as easy as setting up a lunch with a lender and saying,
Okay.
"Hey, I just need you to run me through the super basics of what I need to know about these things," right?
Yeah.
But
Oh my
because
gosh, yeah.
you don't need to know the in-depth. You don't need to know how to qualify a buyer for a certain type of loan. You don't need to know what the credit score amounts need to be for different loan types. Like that's not our arena. That's why we send them to the lender. But you should be aware on a basic level of, well, a conventional loan has usually a higher amount that they have to put down, right?
Okay.
So that's usually the 80/20, where 80% is going to be fine. 80% of the purchase price is going to be financed. 20% is going to be cash that the buyer has to bring to closing. Okay. An FHA, rural development, USDA loan, those are all VA. VA is also one of them. Those are all government-backed loans.
Okay.
And so the home has higher qualifications that it has to fall under to
And
be
those are like
eligible for that type of loan.
okay, so that's like some of the loans if the fence is broken or whatever, like if it's or like the stairs aren't very sturdy or there's no like railings or whatever on the stairs, it's like those kind of things that can disqualify them.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
So, and each one of those loans have different requirements, right? So don't be
Okay.
afraid to reach out to the lender and ask which requirements are for this loan.
Okay.
But like rural
Right, guys, I gotta
development,
take off. I'll see you.
bye
Bye-bye.
Heather,
Hi.
thanks. But like the rural development loan, that one, there can't be peeling paint
Okay.
on any of the buildings, including the outbuildings, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's something that you need to know as you're looking at a property. Not unlike when we went to those open houses and I was showing you guys the mechanical room, right? Like
Hmm.
we don't have to have a great knowledge of that stuff, but we have to have a basic knowledge. So rural development, FHA, VA, there has to be a railing on the stairs.
Okay.
Okay. There cannot be any electrical issues. So, like, there has to be outlet covers on the outlets. So, if your FHA rural development VA buyers are looking for the fixer-upper house and that's what they want to buy, you need to tell them to go talk to their lender because that's not what that loan is for. Any of those low down payment government backed loans are for buyers who get into their first home. And these homes need to be homes that they're not going to have to put out a whole bunch of money as soon as they move in, right?
Okay.
Because they're just getting their feet under them. They're just starting this process. Um, Now there are some low down payment conventional loans, but the house doesn't have to qualify. Now, usually those type of loans, the buyer has to qualify with a higher credit score.
She's chomped on my knee. You literally have a toy in your mouth.
I know, but you're talking on the phone and they want attention. Come on.
I know she says, Mom, hello.
Yeah. So I super encourage you to sit down. Different loan types have different requirements for seller concessions to their
Okay.
closing to a buyer's closing costs. Like some
Oh,
loans only require 3%, but the seller can only contribute up to 3% of the purchase price. Other ones are as high as 6%. And because there's different pieces of each of these loans, like we say VA as a big broad term,
mhm.
but there are different programs within the VA loan program that can change all of those numbers.
Okay.
There's an FHA rehab loan. And so the FHA rehab loan, a buyer can buy a fixer-upper,
Okay.
but you're not going to know that until you talk to the lender
Yeah.
about what loan is this? Tell me what I need to be looking for as a real estate agent as I'm taking these people through these homes. Yeah. That's a great question. Do you have a lender that you're in contact with in your area?
I've met with Steve, who came into our office and he took me out to lunch. He seems really
Cool.
great. He answered all my questions that I had at the time. So that,
Okay.
yeah, that probably would not be a bad idea to like, shoot him a text and see if
Yeah.
he has time to sit down with me. I know he last time he had mentioned he was like, yeah, next time we'll have to do happy hour. So
There you go. Good.
yeah, I know.
Yes. Make sure you ask the questions you need to remember before you get into your second drink. Okay?
Yes, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
I'll come with notes.
Okay.
I actually do have like
Perfect.
3 Coldwell Banker notebooks now that I have like everything written down in and I use for everything.
Good. Okay.
Like I'm
Yeah, that
tracking all of my like expenses and stuff in there and my miles for work and everything like that.
Yep. And that's a really good point that I should write down is we should talk about that in our new agent stuff is to
Oh,
track
about
all of
tax
that stuff.
deductions and
Taxes. Yes. Oh
woo!
yes.
So fun.
Yep.
You're fine.
Huh. Good. Well,
Stop
what
biting me. Go bite your sister.
we have about 9 minutes left. What other questions do you have?
Um, I think actually I joined at the perfect time because I needed to follow up with Sean and ask him about the Minnesota stuff. So I'll
Perfect.
send him a text after we get off here too and
Okay.
see if we can set up a time because I don't know. So I have to email Darcy or Heather, and then Sean can help me fill out all the paperwork that's necessary. Or what did we decide for that?
That that would be a Heather question, unless
Okay.
Darcy, So what Sienna is talking about is getting licensed in Minnesota as well. And
Oh,
I
is
know that
Darcy in here?
yes, she is. She's here
Oh,
Hi,
too. Yes.
Darcy.
Hi.
I'm sorry I missed part of it. I
But yeah,
had a
no,
phone
that's
call I
fine.
had to deal with, but okay,
Um,
you're wanting to get licensed in Minnesota, and
Yes.
your primary state that you live in is North Dakota.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm thinking I have to upload all your course completions, your 3 course completions, and then your state and national exam. And
What are the 3 course completions?
oh,
so
maybe
those are
it's different
your
for North Dakota, or is that just all the states?
yeah,
Because I did my I have like my test like showing that I passed the national test and I have like my course completion for the North Dakota one, but um
That's right. So you did North Dakota and they're reciprocal. I think there is actually an application that you have to fill out.
okay.
Um, Let me see if
I
I
think
can
that's what
find it.
Sean and Heather said too.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So and Sean can be your point of contact for that, right? And
Okay.
he'll get together with either Darcy or Heather and get all the information that they need from you to be able to get you licensed there. And like Heather said, it's about 7 to 10 days once you get everything in. So Minnesota's a little quicker than North Dakota. So,
Hmm.
Yeah,
hmm
I remember the NEREC and I had some beef for a while.
Yeah.
right. Yes. Good.
I'll see if I
Okay.
can find a link on the Department of Commerce that
Okay.
has
And
all the
yeah,
information that you'll need.
I think you actually have my email and my phone number
Yeah,
from
I
all
do.
that fiasco with the online portals and whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah, I would love to get rolling with that. I need to um actually maybe I'll do that tonight or tomorrow after work. Sit down with my mom and figure out all the price work and stuff. And once I have like the forms for Minnesota and I know what I'm doing, that will help me with her too.
Okay.
Mhm. Absolutely. Okay. Well, good. So it sounds like you need to get licensed in Minnesota. You need to get your dog park videos going. Yeah. And then no challenge for this week. I mean, I always challenge you to have these conversations. Use this buyer intake form. And but your biggest goal right now is to get licensed in Minnesota and get more leads. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
maybe I'll do that. I will, once you send me that form, I'll practice. And I'll call my grandpa and I'll sit down and fill out that form for him. And then I have
Perfect.
that, then I have it in like my file.
That's a great idea. Yes. Yep. And when it's your family, it
It's a
takes the
little
stress
easier.
off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's a great idea. Yep. Okay, cool. Well, I will send out this recording as well as this buyer intake sheet. after it's all done doing the computer things once we get off and we'll go
Whoever
from there.
reviews these videos is gonna have a heyday.
That's that's just fine. We actually do have people who watch the videos afterwards, right? Can't make it during this time, whatever,
Yeah.
jobs and all that good stuff. And so and that's just fine. That's exactly why we record them. So they
Yeah.
can. Yeah. Okay. Good, perfect. Well, thanks for coming and
Yeah,
we'll see you
thank
next
you.
week. Yeah.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.